Kick the tires and light the fires. Do it.
What's up, Browns fans? Thanks for stopping in the Danger Zone. I'm Josh, as always, joined by my co-host, Richard Stark. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, friend? How are you?
Getting ready to melt, man. Another 90-degree day in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, golf's going to be rough today, bro.
Yeah.
It's going to be hot. It's going to be super hot.
That's all right. There's no such thing as a bad day on the golf course. So we'll have fun doing that. Hey, man, another day down, another day closer to Browns football. This week, we're bringing you guys this is what would be our fourth installment of our training camp positional previews. Today, we're doing the wide receivers, Rich. So this position, for years, the most controversial position heading into any training camp was the quarterback. And that ship has seemingly sailed, and enter the wide receivers. Now that's the group that there's the most, drama, I'm air quoting here, surrounded in terms of what does ambiguity. The future hold. And there you go. Good word, Rich. Word of the day, like ambiguity. Yeah, I like it. So, the unit that has the most ambiguity heading into training camp, the wide receivers. So let's take a look back first at last year and kind of look at where they fell. Okay. First year Stefanski system, we knew that it was likely to be lighter on the passing side of the game. And that was true early on. It kind of shifted gears, in the latter half of the season. But overall, this unit ranked 27th in total receiving yards, Rich. Yes, it's a low ranking, but they performed well overall. So the yardage is kind of misleading. Now, where this is, and I cherry pick stats, we all do, right? So the stat I like the most from last year is yards per reception, and they fell in the 7th spot at 11.7 yards per reception. And to give a little perspective, you had KC at 4 and Buffalo at 8. So I think, when these receivers got an opportunity last year, they were doing pretty well, making the most of it.
Yeah, we used a lot of play action to create big plays. And, with the exception of, I guess, Higgins would be the only one that I wouldn't say that is dangerous after the catch.
Yeah.
Of the starting, you're starting 3 guys. We'll get into the other guys in a little bit. But Jarvis is dangerous as shit when he has the football in his hands. And when he's healthy, he's dangerous with the football in his hands. I'm kind of just going back and remembering the years where we didn't have any receivers.
Yeah.
We didn't have any. I mean, we made draft picks like fucking Brian Robisky. Mohamed Massaquoi.
I was just getting ready to say Mohamed Massaquoi, man. Oh, man.
He got knocked into another dimension by James Harrison.
His soul left his body that day.
Oh,
at least briefly. At least briefly.
But for the longest time, we pissed and moaned. We don't have any receivers. And now, I mean, you can make an argument at minimum, we got 4 starters.
That's
at minimum,
fair.
We have 4 starters. And usually the other thing too with the yards per reception, they usually tend to be deeper passes for the simple fact is that run fake brings the whole defense in, man, and our guys are able to get behind them. And we took full advantage of that shit last season.
Yeah.
At every fucking turn. And people tried to turn that into a negative with Baker also. Oh, well, he needs play action to be successful. It's like, well, no, they use play action to be successful.
It's
I don't think you can make
in the
that.
toolbox, yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Well, and that's just the hater mentality, man. And they're gonna find reasons to hate. And I guess I don't want to get off on a Baker rant because we can derail this whole fucking show.
Fuck yeah, in a heartbeat. All of a sudden we look down, it's an hour later, we didn't even talk about what we were supposed to.
But you're absolutely right. And to emphasize a couple things with this receiver group, and they did well last year. There's definitely room for improvement though with anything, right? So you look at touchdowns. So we were middle of the pack with touchdowns with 27, obviously. 14th, that put us 14th. So, okay. And then the one area where, you remember spurts where it got bad, but all season it wasn't bad. And that's drop passes. We finished in ninth worst with 20 drop passes last year. And that's an area they need to clean up. But to be fair, play devil's advocate here, to be fair, it was a new system, they're trying to feel each other out. So you spent that season kind of doing that, and you had these spurts where it kind of just maybe, I don't want to say fell apart, but didn't quite come together for that game, and it kind of snowballed. So I'll give them a pass per se on that, but that number needs to improve this season.
My issue with the drops wasn't the volume. My issue with the drops is the timing.
I knew you were going to say that.
I mean, he's not a wide receiver, but Hooper, and at times I think Jarvis last season, but Hooper I think was the main culprit where it was like, dude, that was the worst time to drop that pass. Why could you not just hold on to it? And Hooper's good. I mean, he's got hands. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can play. It just seemed like he had momentary lapses in terms of, holding on to the football. And Jarvis had some uncharacteristically Jarvis drops last season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he had a couple, I'm thinking of like 4 or 5 off the top of my head. A couple were on third down, which is just a fucking no-no. You can't have it. So, I mean, if the volume number goes down, well, then the timing issue is kind of relieved also. But
right.
That was the thing that stuck out the most to me, was not so much the volume, the amount of drops, but the timing in which they fucking happened. And some of them just seemed like goddamn backbreakers, man.
They were. You're absolutely right. They were. Like I said, overall, they had a solid season last year. Obviously, there were limitations with the new system. Early on, what we thought would happen did come to fruition, and that is, a reined-in passing game, more emphasis on the run, and that's completely fine, especially when you're trying to get your feet under you. So, given that grading on a curve, solid season for the wide receiver group last year. Obviously, Odell going down early hurt the team, and then, I think overall, what the big knock on this unit was they were missing that blowout over the top speed. And obviously they at least threw a dart at that this offseason in the draft. So last year, that's what it was. We're going to move on to this year now, kind of take a look at these guys and maybe see how we see this playing out. I think a lot of I think the big hitters are pretty obvious. So as we go down the list, I'm looking at the wide receiver 1 spot, Rich, and OBJ steps right back into that, right?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt it's OBJ. Look, this is for Roger, my boy Roger First out there. OBJ is one of the 10 most talented receivers in the NFL. I don't care about his numbers for the previous couple of seasons. He was dinged up. Shit just wasn't right. We are, and I'm going to say this and mean it with everything I got. All right. Understand something. Odell Beckham Jr. is the best receiver on this football team. Granted, availability is your best ability, blah, blah, blah. He is the most talented receiver on this
That's how I would phrase it. Yeah, the most talented receiver.
He is by far the most talented receiver. And if you think we're a better team without him, like, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. Like, that's just a bad... I could see why the evidence would point that way, but Odell Beckham is a top fucking flight receiver. And him being healthy should tell us everything we really need to know about him.
Yep. Yep.
Jarvis is I would go on a limb, I guess. Not really a limb, but I would say he's a top 5, number 2 receiver in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of what he does. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I kind of almost, if barring health, I think we're fucking loaded.
We are, and that's going to become an issue eventually. But with OBJ, you're right. This season is the season to, for lack of a better phrase, put up or shut up. And here's why. The guy has talent, like you said. 3-time Pro Bowler, NFL Rookie of the Year, yada yada yada. He's eclipsed 1,000 yards per season 5 times in his career. When he's fully healthy, he's a threat, a major threat on the field. Now, the only thing that concerns me, and we'll see how it plays out, is he came into last year healthy, right? I remember this before the season started, feeling good, healthy, yada yada yada. Granted, it was a new system, okay, new coaches, so I'm grading on a curve here, but the numbers were pretty low for him. He played 6 full games, I think. The numbers were pretty low, and he was actually on pace to have his worst statistical season of his career. Now, again, you got to kind of grade on a curve with the system and new and learning and reduced receiver role and everything. Every variable has a factor. So, but it is something I'm going to keep my eye on. And then obviously you want to see this guy stay healthy, right?
Right.
Like you got to stay healthy. And I know sometimes it's just hard. You got big gargantuans flying around at you all the time out there, and then you get hurt. But as we go through this, there's a couple points with a couple of these guys we're going to have to talk about. With OBJ, there's 2. It's commitment, okay? And that's going to be in it. That's going to be a point of discussion. I don't want to say it's going to be an issue because I don't know what it's going to be. He might be just fine. Everyone says he's a good teammate. You hear this from the guys. He's a great teammate, yada, yada, yada. But in the media circles, at some point, there's going to be a comment made, a reading between the lines, and they're going to come up with something about his commitment level. Right. I personally think, Rich, if you go by kind of the backdoor scuttlebutt you hear from the players, or the stuff that kind of slips out from time to time, he seems fine. I don't think his commitment level is going to be an issue.
No, I don't think it's ever been an issue. You don't stay in that type of shape, in type of football shape, because of any other reason other than you love the game and you're committed to it.
To the team in particular, though, instead, like, I guess the selfish diva mentality, title, whatever.
That's look, man. You could go back to his days at the Giants. You could go back to any point in his career, and no one has ever said he was a bad teammate, or he was a problem, or he was a locker room disruption. Mm-hmm. Maybe his popularity is a disruption, and that's nobody's fault. I don't give a fuck about that. He bought teammates fucking shoes. He did all kinds of shit. I don't know where this narrative came from. I think because they showed him beating up a kicking net on the sideline. Well, it's because he's fucking passionate. Tom Brady screams at someone and everyone's like, let's fucking suck his dick. Tom Brady. But Odell Beckham does it, and he's a locker room problem. He's a diva. He's only concerned about himself. He didn't say shit. I think the first 3 games of the year where he just didn't have really anything going on.
Yeah.
And what was the Dallas game? Was that game 4?
I think 3 or 4.
We were either 2-1 or 3-1. Dude, he had a monster fucking game, and we don't win that game without Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, that was.
I'm telling you, right? Period. And I would like to someone point me in the fucking direction of the verifiable negative shit about OBJ. What one thing? He was on a boat prior to a playoff game with the Giants. That's the only fucking thing I've ever seen that could be maybe looked at like, this is football. The game's on fucking Sunday. You better be not doing anything but football up until Sunday. Like, I don't think there's an argument to be made. Like, that's the one thing I've seen that I kind of like, okay, I mean, that's low-hanging fruit. I could see how they could spin that.
Right.
But
yeah, it's like I said, I'll be waiting for it because it will crop up.
It's gonna happen. The narrative has been written
about it. That's why I just want to kind of get an early jump on it and get our opinions out there. Because, like I said, I don't feel it's going to be an issue. I think his commitment to this team is what it is. It's just not. It's there and it's prevalent. It's just not as evident to some people as other players, which is fine. Everyone's a little different in their ways. So the second thing, Rich, and this is obviously going to come up, is there anything, we all know the contract situation with OBJ, and we're going to talk about Landry because he's coming up next. Is there anything OBJ does this year? Now, I think he's got 2 more years on his contract, but is there anything he does this year to stay the following season? Or do you think the ship sailed, the cards have been, dealt? Do you think, whatever analogy you want to throw in there, do you think it's already a foregone conclusion that he's out after this year?
No. I think there's a way. I mean, we're having discussions in this offseason about extending Chubb, extending Baker. Now, no, I don't think there's. I don't think it's already forcing. I don't think he's already out at the end of the season. I don't see it. I mean, that's such a tough spot, man, because I do really feel it's either him or Landry that doesn't return next season.
It's tough.
And money wise, man, this is tough.
Well, and it kind of matters what happens this year, right?
Oh yeah. This year, look, if he comes out 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns, he'll be on this fucking team next year. And that's not to say that Landry will be gone, because I'm going to tell you now, if one goes off, they both go off. They're the type of guys that just feed off each other. I can feel that in my fucking bones. You could see it. They've been fucking teammates for goddamn forever.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would say that could happen to prevent OBJ from being on the roster going into next season, like the following season, is the shit we just talked about. If he starts fucking coming unglued, they're going to be looking to fucking move him for sure.
And that's the thing. You look at value. If he has the type of season you're talking about, there's going to be some pretty good trade value there, because it's going to be OBJ's back. He's ready to play. He's back. So you'll be enticed with trade value. You're right. You got two receivers making pretty big bucks. And it's going to be what's best for the offense, right? Like, sadly, I think you're right. I think Landry may have the biggest chance of being dealt, or, depending on cap numbers too. And I don't want to go down that path.
Yeah, the cap's supposed to fucking explode over the next year or two. Like, it's supposed to go goddamn to the moon.
To the moon?
To the fucking moon. It's a tough spot, man.
It is.
It's a tough spot, because if you wipe away everything and just look at talent, right? Just potential talent. It's OBJ for me. I love Landry, you know it. I mean, Jesus Christ, I'm wearing a fucking bless him shirt, for Christ's sake. I mean, Landry's my boy.
Yeah.
But pure talent, I'm taking OBJ. All right. Now, other things considered, if you take in the entire big picture, I'm going to take Jarvis. As odd as that 100%. Sounds.
No, I think it's spot on.
But, it comes down to what's more important to you: the $17 million we're going to have to pay him, or Beckham or Landry. And barring not being able to fit in your guys, where it's like, we either keep Jarvis and or Landry, or we let Teller walk, or we let Denzel Ward walk, which I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to re-up him. But
I think what you could see is the scenario I propose. If he has a big season, OBJ, I could see a trade. His value is going to be high. They can consume that last year of the contract. The Browns will get off without having to pay him any more money, and they'll get compensation in return. But
what do you think his value is at? You're not getting a first.
No, but no, he's too late ladder in his career, and he's got an injury history, sure. But I don't see there's any reason you couldn't get a couple thirds, or a third and a second, or somewhere in those realms, or maybe even a second and a player, a starter. Who knows? I guess the big thing is you're going to get something and relieve yourself of any monetary commitment that you would have had to him. Whereas if you were to just cut him, obviously, there's going to be dead cap hit on you. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not the cap guy. There's plenty of people out there that do that shit, and we kind of have fun, with some of the contract talk here and there. But this shit goes 35 levels deep, and these guys get
I'm not
involved.
I'm not a mathematician, nor do I have the time to run those numbers together.
Nope. So we're gonna move on to wide receiver 2. OBJ, you got your love there at wide receiver 1. Let's see some numbers this year. Wide receiver 2, obviously, Rich, Jarvis Landry. We just talked about him. The guy and what he means to this team cannot be understated. We've said multiple times how he may have been the catalyst that actually started changing the culture, at least within that locker room and the players that reside in it. But he's consistent. He's reliable. He's got the most sure hands you probably have seen in a Browns uniform. Now, he did have a couple timely drops last year that hurt. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but he's never been the guy that's going to threaten you deep in terms of his breakout speed. But one thing he does well is he runs clean routes, and he has burst at the top of his route. So he's able to throw the cornerback off with that. And that's really how, and obviously the guy can catch the football with people hanging on his neck.
Right? Oh yeah. We've seen it a half dozen times, man.
He did have a down year last year, you could say. Again, you got to take in the factor the offense and them installing it and learning as they go. He had that 8-catch, 143-yard game versus Jacksonville in Week 12. And I don't think other than that, he had a 100-yard game. His next biggest yardage games came against the Colts at 88 yards and the Titans at 62 yards. And then he had 2 61-yard games. That's okay. That 60 to 80-yard range for Jarvis is perfect because most of the time, those are meaningful third down plays, tough catches. The guy just grits it out, man.
Yeah, they're chain movers, man. Landry, outside of Joe Thomas, Landry may be my favorite Cleveland Brown since the return. And that's just because of the accountability he brought to the team when he was brought here. And I think that's what we were missing, is someone that the other players knew was going to hold them accountable for not working or being fucking dinged up, as we saw. Or not putting in the fucking work. I mean, Jarvis Landry is a goddamn workhorse.
Oh, yeah.
And the longer we can keep him in Cleveland, the better. As far as I'm concerned, he's got a spot in the Ring of Honor. If it were up to me, I'd build him a fucking statue outside of Berea or something. You just can't fucking say enough about him. Fantastic teammate. He does. I mean, he's either like first or second in the league for receptions in a 7-year career, like a 7-year window.
Yeah.
He's always, like you said, he's always there when you need him. If I'm not mistaken, he played with like fucking broken ribs or some shit last year, or he had some kind of like, he was dinged up pretty fucking good, and he toughed it out and played, man. And he's a good ambassador for the team as well. And I just like the guy. I mean, he's where you need him to be. I mean, there are times where it was like, we really needed a fucking play. And where did you think the ball was going to go?
Every time, dude. Where's 80? I'm looking for 80.
I'm looking for Jarvis.
7. Where's 80 at?
And, everyone gets a little shitty about his fucking after the play flags during the season. He's good for 2 to 4, somewhere in there.
He's good for a handful. Yep.
I fucking like it. I do.
It's him, man.
As long as
he's passionate.
He's emotional. Yeah, exactly. And as long as it's not a fucking game-sealing decision on his part, which shows to be selfish. I mean, the whole view of it could be selfish, but I don't subscribe to that belief. I fucking like it, man. We lacked attitude for everywhere on the goddamn field for so many fucking years. And when we have a guy that's, 3rd and 8 and he gets us fucking 9, and it's an important fucking drive in the game, whether we're sealing it up or we're trying to come back, and he starts fucking doing his strutting and letting people know, like, what the fuck is up. A part of me is like, fuck, there's the yellow flag, and another part of me is like, yeah, fuck him. Fuck, let's fucking go, dude. I mean, I get jacked up with that shit, man.
Yeah.
And you can't ask anything more of him. You can't.
No. He does. That's one thing, and I'm glad you brought it up. You alluded to it. He knows where the sticks are at all times. And that's a quality that kind of goes overlooked at times. It's only ever prevalent when you see someone who obviously doesn't know where the sticks are, because on a 3rd and 10, they stop at 8 yards and turn around.
Yep.
But he knows where the sticks are. And Landry, you're right. I think he's one of a handful of players we're seeing play right now. If Landry can stick on this team, if he's the guy that ultimately stays around, stays here a couple more, I think we got him for 2 on contract still too, I think, right?
I'm not certain. I can take a look though here.
If we can get to and potentially win a Super Bowl within the next couple of years with Landry, he's one of the handful of players who eventually you will see in the Ring of Honor at I think that's what they call it at the stadium, right? The Ring of Honor. He's one of a handful of players that you could potentially see in there. And we're we're watching an era of Browns football right now that is going to be historic on multiple levels, statistical levels, obviously breaking these different chains we talk about. And I'd like to see Landry be able to stick around for that, especially since, like you said, he's you could argue he was the catalyst to start this change. And, I'd like to see him receive some fruits of that labor by sticking around and winning a championship with his team. So we'll see how that goes. Wide receiver 2, Landry, keep doing you and grind it out there in the slot. Now, Rich, we're kind of doing wide receiver 3 and 4 combo because these guys start clumping up at this stage right here. And you got
these
Higgins.
2 in particular.
Yeah, you got Higgins, you got DPJ, and you got Hodge, right? So let's start with Higgins. I think there's a little bit more meat to his storyline. So we'll start with Higgins. He signs last year a 1-year deal to stay in Cleveland. And then his services were definitely called upon when Odell went down. Higgins obviously saw increased playing time, and he performed well. Obviously, that rapport with Baker shined. He's a pretty tough player himself. We talk about Landry. Higgins is pretty tough too. He's no slouch out there, that's for sure. As you see OBJ come back, though, now you're seeing a shift, obviously, in the downward side with these other guys. So Higgins is likely to see less playing time. But, Rich, I don't know. I think maybe it's a little bit of just favoritism on my end, but I think he edges out these other 2 guys right there at that 3 spot. But I don't think the coaching staff thinks that.
No, for me, let's see. I love Higgins. All right. He's another one where he's got a little dose of Landry in him, where he just happens to be where you need him to be and makes a play. He's a playmaker. He's had that catch against Cincinnati was absurd right before the touchdown to Peoples-Jones.
Oh yeah.
He won that Buffalo. What was that, 2 years ago? He won that game, had that touchdown catch for only catch of the game in the end zone to beat Buffalo. The difference. So this is where it separates for me with Peoples-Jones and Higgins. Peoples-Jones is more physically gifted. Okay.
Yes.
The difference between the two, the main difference outside of that part for me, is the connection to Baker. Which I think the more seasoned Baker gets will matter less.
That's 100% accurate.
And if that's the decision I have to make, I'm going to take Peoples-Jones just because he's more physically gifted. I think by the end of the season, he is the no doubt unquestioned number 3 receiver.
Yeah. And look, they drafted Donovan Peoples-Jones. So he's a guy that has an edge because of that, with the staff. And I'll be honest with you, man. Like I said, it's probably my favoritism and slight homerism kicking Higgins a little bit ahead. I'll be honest with that, because if you look at Donovan Peoples-Jones, he has the greater potential. He's got the most potential out of this group. I mean, the guy last year in limited time, okay, he had 14 receptions on 20 targets, pretty good ratio there, 21.7 yards per reception, and he had the 2 touchdowns, and the 1 touchdown was huge. The Cincinnati game, that was a game-winning touchdown. That was a
monster.
Yeah, so in the limited action he saw last year, he performed very well, especially for a rookie. You're right, he's better, physically more gifted than Higgins. And, the staff, the front office brought Higgins back on another team-friendly deal. You got a guy who's familiar with the offense. You're able to bring him back. So why wouldn't you at that stage,
Right.
They seem to like their receivers, though. For an offense that isn't wide receiver heavy, because you look, they brought back Higgins. They tendered Hodge, right? They drafted DPJ last year. They got Schwartz this year, who we'll get into. They're carrying 2 $15 million receivers. So, we don't need receivers, except all the receivers that we have, all 37 of them.
We don't need them because we got them.
Yeah, because we got them.
I just think I think Peoples-Jones, he's had a fantastic camp this year. Coaches were ranting and fucking raving about him here last week. He's my pick for the fucking camp standout from what I've been reading. Obviously, I didn't go. They won't give us no media credentials. That'd be fucking horrific.
That would be a mistake. Don't do that.
Yeah, bad job. These guys are tailgating before the okay. But Peoples-Jones, man, I mean, you know how I felt about him the day we drafted him, even though he's from up north. You know, I think that he's the third best receiver on the team, just a little bit ahead of Hollywood. But I love me some Hollywood, man. I mean, I can't shit on the dude. I don't give a single. I mean, Kadarius Hodge, he made some plays for us last year, but he feels like the Dollar General version of fucking OBJ.
Yeah.
He even looks like the fucking, you know, where you get, instead of Fruity Pebbles, you're getting like Colorful Rocks cereal. You know what I mean? Like just the off-brand fucking form of goddamn OBJ. And the only other one you said that matters to me is Schwartz. The rest of these guys, JoJo Natson's dinged up. I don't care. Brian Switzer, I don't care. Jamarcus Bradley filled in last year when we had the fucking COVID rampage on the receiver room.
He did an admirable job filling in as well.
Yeah, I have no ill will towards him. It's just there's not room in the roster, homie.
Some of these guys are going to see some practice squad love.
Oh yeah. Bradley.
I mean, Schwartz will make the roster. It would take a catastrophic meltdown of epic proportions or an injury for him to not see the roster. They like Derek Willis too, man. They brought him in
I like Derek Willis.
I like Derek Willis because of the film. Baker has some rapport with Derek Willis. They go kind of pretty far back, actually. I think from Baker's rookie season. I think. Yeah. But some of these guys are going to stick around on the practice squad because you've seen, and now obviously we are hoping to not have any type of repeat of the COVID situation we had last year. But you're going to need to probably call upon one of these guys or two of these guys throughout the season. You know, something's probably going to crop up. I hope not, but you want to have the guys on your practice squad who are familiar with what you're doing, and bringing these guys back is a good move, especially they're getting them on the cheap. You know, Schwartz, look, there's not a lot of playing time to go around for the receivers. He will see some. They didn't draft this kid to sit on the bench. They drafted him to use his speed out there from time to time. So there's going to be a package of plays for him. I think
absolutely.
I think you got to get Jones in there a little more, though. I think you're right. He's potentially the future of your position right now. And you're going to want to start working him in there. I know you got two big dogs you're trying to feed with OBJ and Jarvis. But God, the more I look at it, like I said, I know the staff is probably going to edge Peoples-Jones ahead of Higgins, which is okay. I understand that. My homerism has rightfully me edging Higgins above, but it's exciting. We're pretty. I don't want to say loaded or stacked because some of these guys are young and need to continue to build and prove. But the talent in this position group is there.
We are potentially loaded.
Potentially loaded.
All right, you know what you're getting. You know what you're getting with OBJ and Landry, right? And you pretty much got it figured out with Higgins too. All right. Whatever slow route you have where he just needs to find a spot in the zone, Higgins is your fucking guy. Peoples-Jones and fucking Schwartz, I think. Schwartz, we'll see. I mean, you know, he's a rookie. I think he's going to be the trickery guy. He's going to be getting some jet motion plays, taking some, you know, maybe keeping OBJ out of that role. Where, you know, even though he took one to the house against Dallas, you know, I would rather not have Odell flying around anywhere near the line of scrimmage. That's where the big people live. OBJ is a lettuce eater. The meat eaters live in the middle of the field, and they will fucking smash you. But yeah, I mean, I just don't see a lot. I mean, Derek Willis, he's like been fucking lingering for years, and we just like they see something they like. He's a big body dude. I wouldn't mind seeing some shit out of him too, just for shits and giggles. You know what I mean? But I think the way it sits, we're gonna carry 6 receivers into the beginning of the season, and they're the guys we've talked about the most. Landry, OBJ, Peoples-Jones, Higgins, Kadarius Hodge, and fucking Anthony Schwartz. And I think that's it. These other guys are just camp hands, I think. Practice squad potential. And I like that fucking group because there isn't a definitive weakness in that group. You know, in past years, we had guys who weren't fast enough to get open. Well, we got a couple of those guys. Then we had guys that weren't fucking big enough. We had all these 5'11" receivers that, remember, people like fucking bogus ass Tony Grossi. We need a taller receiver.
Yeah.
Well, you don't just get a taller receiver to get a taller receiver. Like, you know what I'm saying?
We were happy when Greg Little showed a little promise because he was a bigger receiver, and that fizzled out.
Because he was a running back, because he couldn't fucking catch, and we drafted him and tried to play it. Oh God, I was so amped for him because the potential was there. I mean, we talked about it pre-podcast. Like, dude, fucking Greg Little, get him on these fucking short slant routes, and he's a fucking running back, man. I mean, how could that be terrible? And, well, he showed us how it could be fucking terrible. But, I mean, there isn't a weakness in this group.
No. If we can avoid injury, we're good.
3 of the 6 are fairly damn good hands guys. And that's Landry, OBJ, and Richard. Richard Higgins is no slouch at catching the football. Peoples-Jones is still early to tell. Kaderil Hodge, I mean, he just doesn't do anything that jumps off the screen at you. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't notice his plays as much.
Yeah, he's pretty.
I mean, he's
pretty
good.
Consistent.
He's quick.
I mean,
he's consistent.
Numbers aren't bad, but they're
right.
very small sample size. Very small.
Right. So, I mean, in terms of that, for the receiver room, like, this is the best it's looked ever.
Yeah.
Right now. Right this minute, right now, is the best it's ever looked on paper.
And, Rich, that is a perfect segue into something I want to talk about.
Oh, what do you got?
It's a little bit of Browns hype, right? So, NFL.com recently named the Browns the most complete team heading into the 2021 campaign. And this is I'm not going to read the whole clip, but this little clip just to get you fuckers jazzed up. The Browns have been building a respectable roster for several years now, but heading into the 2021 season, they aren't just good. They're loaded with Pro Bowl talent from top to bottom, featuring multiple high-level players at almost every positional group. They're talking about your Cleveland Browns right now, like that, on the NFL series of fucking outlets here. This is NFL.com. And, Rich, first, this is a two-parter, and we'll start with, do you think they're right that the Browns are the most complete? And we can go on paper heading into camp. Do you think they're right that the Browns are the most complete team?
Ooh, boy. I almost answered without thinking for a second.
Those are the best ones.
Yes. 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 We are the most complete team. We have the best running backs in football right now, tandem-wise. Our offensive line is rated as a top 2 or 3 unit in the entire NFL. Baker Mayfield is fucking coming along nicely and looks fantastic. The receiver room we just talked about, so we don't need to fucking tell you. The tight end room is pretty fucking good as well. All right, so the offensive side of the ball, yes, I think overall is the most talented offense in the NFL. And then you get down to the defensive line. Well, the bookends, which I don't think is actually going to happen. I think you're going to see Clowney play inside, but whatever, moving on. Defensive line, while not deep, you have Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney on it. Less linebackers on the field. Okay. Which is really good for us.
Yeah.
Really good. And one of them is going to be Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
J-O-K.
Who is going to be that dude is going to be a fucking animal, and he is the wild card of this entire defense. All right? And you got what's-his-face, the vet from Indy. Christ, his name escapes me right now, but whatever.
Walker? Walker?
Yes. If Tack McKinley if Tack McKinley and some of these other guys can come up and play, if Taki keeps playing the same way he is, Jacob Phillips is I'm high on him. All right, and then you get to the corners, and you got Denzel. What? You got Denzel and fucking a first-round pick, Greg Newsome, who looks to be an animal. Grant Delpit's coming back healthy. John Johnson is a fucking monster. You got arguably the best fucking slot cover man in the game, or top 5 guy for certain, in what the fuck's his shithead ass face? Oh Jesus, I'm drawing a blank. Give me a hand here.
Hold on.
The corner, the Troy Hill, Nickelback.
Yeah, I was
Troy
trying
Hill.
to get back to the depth chart page.
I mean,
find out who you didn't list.
Yes,
yeah.
we're right. We're the most talented roster in the NFL. I mean, there's guys that may make a huge contribution that we're not even fucking talking about.
Yeah.
Curtis Weaver on the defensive line is going to be, I think he's going to be pretty fucking good. Ronnie Harrison is still here. You know, we got all these new pieces with Grant Delpit and all these other guys. Ronnie Harrison's still here, and he's done us fucking well. Greedy Williams is fucking healthy, and when he played, he was pretty fucking decent. He was good.
Yeah.
I think he was right on par with Denzel with, you know, yards per reception. So, I mean, going over this fucking roster, where's the weak spot?
Yeah, it's a solid.
Where's the fucking weak spot?
It's a solid yes. They are absolutely right. One thing that threw me is when they said the Browns have been building a respectable roster for several years now. I'm like, wait a minute, several years. I was like, well, actually, they're right. Yeah, because it did start with Dorsey. He was bringing talent to the team, but then the next crew, Barry and company, were still able to bring talent in a more intelligent way. They were actually, you know, building the football team instead of just bringing in mass amounts of talent that really didn't maybe fit necessarily. But yes, they're right. They've been building it for a while. And, you know, the one thing they were missing, they got last year, I think, and that was Kevin Stefanski and company and getting them guys, you know, in here on board and instilling their way of football within this team. And I think that's really what's made the difference from an organizational standpoint. So yes, NFL.com, you are correct. The Browns are the most complete team. And that leads me into the fucking thing here. The second part of this, part number 2, hype is good. I don't care. I know people will get afraid of it because they don't want to be let down. I understand that. Like, you don't want to build it up to a point to where you're going to come crashing down and you're going to want to stand in line at the 480 bridge. I understand that because I've been there. But you know what? Hype to me is good. I like when positive things are being talked about with my football team. I like when they're jerking us off on the fucking all the 4-letter, 3-letter networks. I like that because we fucking deserve it. So this is the part where I tell you, don't forget where we came from. The 20 years since the Browns have returned to the NFL has been the worst period of football in NFL history, according to Football Outsiders. Take what you want from that site, whatever. If you look back on it in your memories as Browns fans, you can say without seeing any stats to back it up, yeah, that's probably accurate. It probably has been the worst period of football in NFL history. It was bad, okay? Don't feel like you can't enjoy this team because expectations are high, because the hype is high. Soak that shit in, man. You know, we've earned it, right?
Yes. Look, we spent years and years and years watching these fucking networks Sunday morning pregame, talk about every other team but ours. And then we'd come up and they'd chuckle and this is the 258th quarterback this month for the Cleveland Browns. We don't even know who the guy is, blah, blah, blah. We were a fucking joke. We were a punchline for years. And I'll tell you what, people are having a problem, especially Steelers fans of now. We're not the fucking redheaded stepchild no more.
Oh yeah. People got big problems with it.
Oh, they don't know how to take it. And they're telling us, these people are fucking telling us, why don't you fucking take it easy? You know, when they were just beating their fucking chest for no fucking reason. I had a Steelers fan tell me yesterday that they almost won that wild card game.
Oh, okay.
Yesterday, he tells me we almost won that game. I'm like, yeah, until the ball was snapped, bitch. As soon as that fucking fumble happened, I knew it deep down in the pit of my fucking, in the cockles of my fucking heart. I knew we were going to win that fucking game at that point. Now, did I act like it? Fuck no, I was terrified.
Oh yeah.
But these motherfuckers don't know how to take it now. Like they beat us up for so long, and now that we spent our time in the fucking gym, we spent our time doing our shit, and now we're ready to brawl, and they're like, "We'll fucking take it easy." Fuck you, man. Fuck you.
Oh, them's was jokes.
You shit all over us for as long as you fucking could and thought it was a joke. And now it's our time to bring it to your fucking front door. And you want us to be respectable about it?
Right.
Fuck you. Not a chance. I'm going to make this. Oh, dude, I'm going to make people fucking miserable. Miserable.
I concur, doctor.
You're never going to hear the end of it from me. And I'm going to fucking do fucked up shit like you did to us for years and years and years.
Yeah. It's like, the line in the Goonies. Down here, it's our time. It's our time now.
You're goddamn right, dude.
You're goddamn right.
There is no doubt. No doubt. It is our time. It is. Pittsburgh's fucking fallen off a cliff. They released their fucking starting guard because he may have to have ankle surgery. He's talking about retiring.
They've got one returning starter on the line, FYI.
Right.
Just one.
They showed, after they released DeCastro, they showed Roethlisberger. He's still sitting on Heinz Field bench crying as we speak.
Oh, it's so
Najee Harris is like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Who am I going to run behind? So then goes and sign fucking Trey Turner, who hasn't been good in a little bit and ain't going to help this fucking Steelers team. They are fucked. They just don't know it yet. Fuck Baltimore. Baltimore, real quick, now that I'm going to roll. That's the end of it. Sorry. Baltimore no longer allows reporters to record Lamar Jackson throwing to receivers.
I wonder why.
Right. They act like they have a sweet-ass fucking sports car, and all they do is talk about it. They just don't want to show anyone. You know what I mean? Look how awesome. Well, you can't really see how awesome this is. I'm going to hide it from you, but it's sweet.
It's
You fucking douchebags. Baltimore's a good team. Whatever. In Cincinnati, if Joe Burrow doesn't die before the end of the season, they'll be not good, but less. They'll be a little bit better than what we were in previous years.
a little less.
You know what I'm
not
saying?
good.
Like,
yeah.
a little less, not gooder. This is our division to take. And if we, look, making the playoffs is the expectation. We aren't good enough to be like, we should be getting to the
100%.
We should be making these conversations. I heard Ken Carman. It's one of the few times I argued with him, but he's like AFC Championship or it's a letdown. And I'm like, this is the This is the fucking National Football League, bro.
It's tough,
like,
yeah.
just make the playoffs. Just make the playoffs.
I don't know
There's
that
too
my
many
expectations will ever go past that. Like, just get to the playoffs. Give me a chance to watch playoff football every year. And eventually you're going to, hopefully eventually go the distance, right? But you got to get to the playoffs. It's just playoffs, playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it has to happen. I mean, and even if you don't, like, it doesn't ruin a career. Peyton Manning, he played in a bunch of fucking playoff games and with the Colts and AFC Championship games even, but he only made it to the Super Bowl once with the Colts. You know what I mean? Like, the expectation, all right, should be to make the playoffs. Now, what I would like it to be is I would like to win the division and make the playoffs. That's a successful season right out of the gate. And you can't, I don't care if we lose in the fucking divisional round. Like, I do care, obviously. But my personal expectation is fucking win the goddamn division. Give me a fucking home playoff game.
Yeah.
And get to the fucking playoffs. Like, that should be the expectation going forward for a number of years as long as we have this squad together.
Agreed, sir. 100%. Yeah, man. That's all I got Browns related this week. I know we still got to do fuck, marry, kill, so we're gonna do that next.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
This was a new one this morning. It came to me. We were talking about it before the show. I like to group them together. Eventually, we'll have to break off of that because we'll get through all the fucking triple groupings. But this is Friends Week, man.
Friends. Everyone loved Friends at one point. At least tolerated it and had it on the TV.
So you got Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, and whatever
Lisa
Phoebe's
Kudrow.
real fucking name. Lisa Kudrow, that's what it was. Lisa Kudrow.
Yeah, this one's easy for me, and I did not religiously watch Friends, but if it was on, I watched it when I was younger.
Yay!
Jennifer Aniston has always been a celebrity crush of mine, so I'm definitely picking her for the Mary spot because you want to keep that around for as long as possible. And then it's going to have to be bang Courtney Cox and kill Lisa Kudrow. Lisa Kudrow's character and Friends, although quasi likable, is very, very nutty and too flighty for me, and I don't like that ditzy personality. I guess it's just not a favorite of mine. So
just empty-headed.
Yeah.
I dated a girl like that. You know her. You know who I'm talking about.
Probably
I dated two actually years ago.
I know the one you're talking about.
there's a Stephanie and a Jessica involved in this.
Oh
group,
yeah, okay.
Two of the dumbest human beings
Yeah.
back then. I'm sure they're intelligent now, but this was fucking 20 years ago. So for me, I'm gonna go with you on this across the board. I can't get enough of Jennifer Aniston. My God, the woman hasn't aged in ever
at all. Yeah, she's a vampire. That's it. She's a vampire.
I would tell you. So I'm gonna marry Miss Aniston. I'm gonna bang Courtney Cox, and I'm gonna kill Phoebe. But I'll tell you, there was a thought for a brief moment that I would kill Courtney Cox.
She looks like she'd have the type of crazy that would stab you in your neck while you're sleeping. Crazy, but
yeah, like after you're done,
it's
banging
just a
her,
look. Yeah,
chew your arm off to get away while it's still underneath her, so she doesn't kill you. Like that would be. I don't know. I like as you were talking, I was kind of rolling through my thoughts in my head. I'm like, dude, I kind of would kill Courtney Cox. I mean, yes, she's very pretty, but and Phoebe is not unattractive.
No, she's pretty too.
Yeah, she's like a Ford Fiesta in a fucking Mustang race here. But only the reason it ended the way it did is because the only thing I can remember Phoebe for was a song they played on Friends about Smelly Cat.
Smelly Cat.
And
the big hit.
Smelly Cat, what do they feed you? Or some shit. Like, I just thought of that. I'm like, I'm going to kill you, man. That's it. That's it.
Funny. All right, man.
But,
good fuck, marry, kill. Again, disclaimers. And if you know us, you know this is true. We are not sexist in any way. This is not a sexist thing. So please don't take it that way. If you're,
we're just a couple of idiots. Like, if you're thinking that, you already put more thought into it than we did.
And
you know what? We had a suggestion. Yeah, we have a suggestion to start adding dudes to the list.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we'll probably do a completely heterosexual fuck, marry, kill of dudes.
Yeah. So, and I mean, like we already discussed it. What were the names yesterday? We had John Stamos.
Yeah. Hasselhoff.
David Hasselhoff.
We didn't come up with a third, I don't think yet. Oh, Chris Farley. You said Chris Farley.
Yeah, just Chris Farley was a name that popped in my head. I'm like, I'm going to tell you this right now. If we put up Denzel Washington.
Denzel.
I'm marrying that man. God damn, is he a handsome devil.
And he's a fantastic actor. Everything he does is awesome.
Lights out, dude.
Anyway, this is where I tell you guys, don't forget to travel to mark1sports.com and check out all the content provided for you there. Your Cavs, your Indians, obviously your Browns, your daily fantasy sports, and your general news going ons with the Mark One Sports podcast, which is the flagship show of Mark One Sports. Check out the store while you're there. Give some love, leave some likes and comments, and go to Apple. If you're on Apple, go to iTunes, drop some comments and rate us and all the other podcasts there. If you would, that would be much, much appreciated. And thanks for all the love and support, guys and gals. We definitely appreciate it. We enjoy giving you at least some content. Try to keep it as real as possible, obviously, because we're just a couple dumbasses with some microphones and cameras. So there you go. Rich, that's what I got for this week. You got anything to lead us out on?
Yeah, dude, we're bringing it back. We're going back to 2018 on this.
Uh-oh.
We're ripping dicks off.
Oh, he's ripping the dicks off.
Go Browns. Let's go.
Let's go. Go Browns, man. Go Browns.
Go Browns, baby.